Thanks again, everyone, for hopping in. My name is Adam Burke. I'm Vice President of Channel Partners and Sales at Quest Technology Management. This series that we're jumping into is going to be specifically around cybersecurity. Today's session is a little bit about the cybersecurity landscape, and then also how Quest and our teams can help you as an advisor and as a consultant or as a provider within your customer base help qualify and understand a little bit more about the cybersecurity landscape. So today what we're going to be covering, again, is what is cybersecurity? How is it significant to your IT partners and customers? And then going through key strategies around basically understanding what your clients need help with and where they can engage, where they may be looking for significant engagement, or maybe they just want to have a conversation about some things, how to start. So we're going to be covering that, as well as we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into our cybersecurity capabilities and what we call our cyber defense suite and how it can help across the board with some of your clients in more of their IT strategies from a holistic standpoint. So covering a lot today, we're going to rip right through it. Hoping, if this is of value to you or you found any, good input or a different way to think about approaching it, would love for you to share this content. So if you get value from this today, I'd just like to, respectfully ask that maybe you share it with a partner, maybe you share it with someone else in your world, in your network that you think it could bring value to. We listen to our partners around why we put these services and these boot camps together, and we got some great feedback that it was helpful. So if you get value from today's session, please, share it. It'll be available in our partner forum as well as on our partner page on our Quest website. So there'll be some more information about that later. But please like and share. Love to get this out to as many people as we can. Some of the knowledge you're going to be gaining is, the impact of cybersecurity incidents on business and operations, how to start the conversation, how to confidently have that dialogue with your partners and with your customers, and then how to understand the different building blocks of cybersecurity and how they fit into your customers' world. We're going to be able to qualify, right? We have a specific way that we kind of qualify. The whole, if you know the book, it's a great book. It's called Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play. If you want to Google that or check out that from a high level, that's a lot of how Quest engages with organizations as far as how they want to, really leverage our experience and expertise. So fantastic overview there. We're going to talk a little bit about the strategy there, specifically around cybersecurity. And then we want to build confidence. We want you to feel confident in asking the question and starting the dialogue with your customers around cybersecurity services across the spectrum, whether it's applications or network or other services around consulting and frameworks and those types of things. So very excited. Great topic today. Hope you guys are ready to go. So why are we talking about this? Why is this an area of focus, an area of opportunity for you as trusted advisors and consultants? Data is everywhere. People are trying to protect that data. I don't care if it's where you park your car or where you access your banking information or where you store where your customers store their proprietary information about their manufacturing process or their customer data or their CRM or their ERP or whatever application they may be using. Data and logged events, how you access that data, where you drive, how you take your kids to school every morning, what cell towers your device pings across is being mined constantly. It's being mined because that data can be processed into business outcomes and opportunities for the market to sell you stuff and to sell your business stuff. So it's very sensitive in the sense that it can tell people where you are. It can tell people where you access applications. It can tell bad actors how you access your corporate applications. And all these events are logged constantly. So every device, we're all connected to a million different things right now. Just logging into this session today, you notified your ISP provider how you were connecting to this. We're hosting this on WebEx right now. All those events were logged, okay? And all that data is falling into compliance and regulations, right? There are now much greater penalties for organizations that are breached, right? organizations not only have a fiduciary duty to their businesses around managing the assets, but the data has become a defendable asset that leadership within firms must also help to take steps to protect. So different frameworks, we're all familiar with, NIST and CMMC controls are coming out. So these compliance and regulations and controls are being mandated in order for your clients to do business with Department of Defense contractors, with anybody that has to do with the government, healthcare, financial services. All these regulations are getting pushed down. It's constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. So there's the protection of the data, and then there's the mandate and the penalties that come along with those getting breached. And the last little check mark here is around business operations. Quest has been in business for about 42, 43 years now. We have a long-standing practice with disaster recovery and business continuity. One of the biggest impacts to business that we're seeing right now, this is from SMB all the way through the enterprise, one of the biggest impacts that we're seeing is cybersecurity incidents and downtime and ransomware, right? So it's safeguarding those business operations, keeping the business operational, and not being impacted by cyber threats, right? There's denial of service attacks, there's ransomware, there's all sorts of bad actors out there that are trying to shut down business in order to extort funds. It's all about money, usually always is. They're trying to hold organizations ransom or force them into a decision that will benefit the bad actors. So it's just part of actually the business continuity, and it's one of the largest disasters we're seeing in that BCP and DR space right now. That's kind of why your customers and why everyone's trying to deal with this, and it's constantly evolving. Like I mentioned, ransomware, about 72%, almost 3/4 of the cybersecurity attacks in 2023 were motivated by ransomware, which basically means they're going to encrypt your client's data and send a ransom note saying, we're either going to release this and you're going to breach certain healthcare issues, and you're going to get $10,000 for every record lost kind of bill from the government. So pay us a couple $1 million, or they're going to delete it and they hold it for ransom and basically shut down the company. So ransomware, it's money driven again. Almost 3/4 of the cybersecurity attacks in 2023 were driven by basically digital extortion, okay? So what are the core components that you, as a trusted advisor, can help an organization with? And these are areas that we've built out, and that basically you can classify them in a couple different ways. And here, the core components are threat prevention, right? So we're gonna build walls, right? We're gonna protect the endpoints. We're gonna protect the edge with managed like firewall services. You're going to protect the endpoint with like threat detection and prevention at the edge and at the endpoint. So think about like advanced antivirus, EDR, MDR services. We're going to basically prevent malware and bad actors from either breaching, gaining access to our systems. So think like multi-factor authentication, right? We're going to prevent an organization from logging in and stealing someone's password. Maybe they get the password, but they can't authenticate again with leveraging a multi-factor edge threat prevention tool, right? So the threat prevention is we're helping to mitigate the actual attack, okay? Detection and response, the bad guys are going to get in at some point. Something's going to happen. Someone's going to click a link. Someone's going to forget to, to enforce multi-factor authentication. So another core component when you're putting this together with your clients is the detection and response, right? So in the event something happens, in the event a machine gets infected, in the event someone gains access to your file share environment or to your CRM or to your Active Directory or whatever it is, you need to identify that in real time. Now, I hate buzzwords and I hate the AI hype and all that kind of stuff. But this is an area where machine learning, anomaly detection, and artificial intelligence is extremely beneficial. We all hear the marketing speak out there from manufacturers and different service providers around eyes on glass, right? We're all on the channel, we've all heard this, hey, I got 24/7 eyes on glass. Well, this is where machines and artificial intelligence and machine learning can be very, very effective in helping security professionals identify threats and anomalies, right? Humans blink and we don't always understand exactly what an anomaly looks like. So in the detection and response, we're seeing a lot of that machine learning and next generation AI, apologize for saying AI, only 10, 14 minutes into the talk here, but that artificial intelligence and those models can help detect threats. So very, very powerful in the detection and the response. So threat prevention, we're helping secure it we're helping to defend against the attacks. Detection and response, once they're in, how do we find them quickly and isolate them, right? We got to respond very, very quickly. And then the last one is more of a compliance and risk management approach, right? So compliance and risk management is, we all have intuition, right? We all have different levels of intuition. You're walking into a store late at night, you see some character in the shadows off to the right-hand side. Maybe you don't want to walk through that door or come out that same exit to an empty parking lot. We all get that gut intuition. Compliance and risk management is documenting those policies and those procedures and enforcing those procedures that kind of help disperse that intuition around security across the organization. So maybe not everyone knows that, hey, clicking on that link is probably a bad thing, or maybe they don't understand to look at the URL or look at the actual signature on the email or look for those types of things. But we're going to enforce policies and enforce compliance within our organization that prevents that different level of intuition, right? So it helps layer that. And that's going to be things like who has access to what files, okay? Segmenting your network a little bit in order so you don't have a flat network. So if one aspect is breached, they have access to the entire environment, right? So how are we going to manage that risk? Those are more compliance conversations and dealing with that industry regulation and enforcing that in the organization. So taking people through the process of documenting that and then using the tools to enforce it. And all those core components can be delivered in different service categories. Okay, so managed services. We all love monthly recurring revenue. It's fantastic. And what you can do within managed security services is you help with things like endpoint detection, email security, endpoint security, and those types of things. It's managed, it's ongoing, you're part of their security operation. So Quest plugs in to help as part of their security operation. Consulting and assessments are more along the professional services and one-time engagements. Hey, this is really important. Organizations don't necessarily know where they are at all times, right? So they need help identifying the gaps. If they're going to go through a CMMC process, or they're going through an audit from their customers or their partners, oftentimes they don't know where they are. Average tenure for a CIO is a couple of years, okay? People get plugged into organizations all the time, and you as trusted advisors are often tied into your accounts much longer than the people who are actually in there operating those environments. So consulting and assessments help organizations understand where they are, document the gaps. This can be a penetration test, this can be a reputational analysis, this can be vulnerability scanning, this can be patch assessments, this can be basically a security posture assessment that documents kind of everything in the framework, or it can be like a full CMMC 110 control. What do you have in place that can help here? So consulting and assessments often lead to managed security services because there's a lot to deal with here, and that's one way to get involved. And then of course, integration and implementation is basically taking all those compliance conversations, taking all the tools that organizations may buy, and then how do you integrate that into the environment, and how do you help them use those tools effectively to enforce that compliance and to secure their people and their endpoints. So those are different service categories. Managed security services, you're plugged in, you're working with them on a day-to-day basis, you're part of their operational framework. Consulting and assessments, you're helping them understand where they are on the battlefield. What are they dealing with? What do they have in place right now? And how can they improve, right? So that's usually a one-time assessment or potentially an ongoing, biannual engagement or something like that. And then integration implementation, they bought some new gear, they bought some new software. How do we implement that day two? So those are great opportunities for you as an advisor to get involved in their business, either ongoing or from an implementation standpoint. And then, from a Quest standpoint and where we typically engage, we know that every customer is different, and we know that every customer is somewhere different in their needs for these core components in these service categories. So it's not a one size fits all. A lot of conversations around business outcome and what they're looking for, and then you got to kind of customize what they're needing help with. So a lot of options there. So the let's get real or let's not play. This is a little bit different than I think some providers in the market may how they may approach things. But we really don't like to guess. And when I say we don't like to guess is sometimes people will have the attitude of, hey, I'm going to buy a endpoint protection service, EDR, MDR, or some type of offering. Tell me what you have, vendor, and I'll let you know if I like it. A lot of people do that. And a lot of people will chase that type of opportunity and get involved and tell stories and put up really pretty PowerPoints, much prettier than the one I have here. And they'll try to win the business that way. And that's great. We don't do that. We typically like to engage in understanding how the decision is going to be made, right? So really understand the opportunity. Why are they doing this? What are they doing today? How are they going to be deciding on this, right? How are they going to make the decision, right? So these are some of the qualifications that we put in place that are non-technical. A lot of people will kind of think like, well, I can't sell cybersecurity services because I don't know the difference between NIST and CMMC, or I don't know the difference between EDR and managed firewall services or SASE or whatever. Those are all marketing buzz terms. It's all noise. Don't worry about it. At the end of the day, people are making business decisions. So we really like to understand how they're making the decision, right? How are they going to decide to move forward? Are they putting it out to bid? Are they going to look for the best proposal? Are they checking references? Are they looking for best value? All that kind of stuff. How are they making the decision? Who's engaged in that process? Is it a steering committee? Is it Bob the IT guy? Is it the owners? Are they going to be involved? Is it a small business and it's a family decision and they got a brother-in-law who programmed a VCR one time, so he's going to be their cybersecurity expert? All sorts of good stuff. You got to understand that before you burn cycles in pursuing this type of stuff. So, and then document the decision process, and then really around the execution, laser focus, in our opinion, again, this is how we like to do it, laser focus on that execution. Why are we here? What are they looking for help with? And what pain is this addressing? If you don't know all this stuff, you're guessing, right? And that's okay. I'm not saying guessing's wrong. Sometimes you guess and you make a good call. But oftentimes it's very, very effective to go through this qualification process of understanding, hey, where are we going to assign resources and where are you going to make the biggest impact for your clients? Because sometimes you might flounder around a little bit and burn some cycles. So this is kind of our little shout out to great book, Let's Get Real or Let's Not Play. If you're looking for that, definitely worth. I think I checked on Amazon the other day. I know it's Amazon Prime Days or whatever, but a $15 paperback. Great book if you want to read it. And again, another way to qualify it and a little bit around non-technical questions. So you don't have to be an expert in cybersecurity to ask these questions. And this can really set you apart in preparing the appropriate partners to bring in based on some of this feedback, right? So cybersecurity is a painful situation for a lot of organizations. Organizations go out of business because of cybersecurity incidents, ransomware, and things like that. So when someone comes to you and you're talking to them around maybe some of their initiatives in cybersecurity, really key questions to answer are what problem or what pain point is this attempting to solve, right? Sometimes they might be putting the Band-Aid on something that's not necessarily relevant to the underlying problem or the underlying pain point, right? So you might have they might want to refresh their entire endpoint protection subscription but they're patching, but they recently got breached because of some type of an anomaly in their patching environment, or not quite, not sure what the actual issue is. So what pain is it? Is it urgent, right? Is it something they got to get done now? Is it something that's down a couple months from now? Are they going through a compliance or a risk management or audit? What's the urgency of this? At the outcome, what's the definition, or what's their preferred outcome, right? What would they like to see happen? This is a sticky one, especially in the channel. I ask this question on every opportunity that I get involved in. Some partners like it, some partners don't, but this is the way it is. What are they looking to spend on it, right? Are they looking for a Ferrari? Are they looking for a Ford? Great options out there, tons of different vendors that can address organizations' cybersecurity needs, but there's a very wide spectrum on cost. So if you're in that trusted advisor seat, if you're in that, that role, that consultant, or helping them through this process, asking the budget conversation in the cybersecurity world is kind of a starting block. You can't really jump into all the different things that can be handled. If they have $5,000 a month budget and you bring in something that's 25 grand, it's a non-starter. You're wasting everybody's time. So understanding cost is very key. And then also, people have biases. There are organizations out there that, you never get fired for buying X, right? You never get fired for buying Y. Just ask the question, do you have a preference around technology? Do you have a vendor who already supports that preference for you? Why aren't you working with them now? Is there something, did something change? Are they looking to be educated on the latest and greatest, right? There are assets in the channel and resources in the channel that can put up all sorts of great spreadsheets and matrices and all sorts of cool things around what you can buy or what's out there in the marketplace. So if they have a preferred solution already, try to scratch that up a little bit. So, all right, that's enough qualification 101 kind of stuff. I know you guys are all professionals, but that's just, I wanted to let you guys know that's a little bit of how we try to address cybersecurity without getting into the technical conversation. How are people making the selection? So, again, going further into how cybersecurity is affecting today's market, preparedness and response is a big aspect of helping organizations get ready for the attack. All right. So 83%, according to IBM, organizations are breached for about 49 days before they identify the bad actors are in their environment, right? That's come down a little bit. Last year, 2 years ago, it used to be up in the 60s, 70s. But ransomware is triggering faster, and organizations are finding vulnerabilities faster. Chief information security officers are investing in AI for their security applications, right? We're seeing this in MDR, EDR, and network monitoring assets, right? Looking for anomalies. And we're seeing that, old CIOs and CISOs are very, very likely to be looking for that help in the next 12 months. It's baked into the solution offerings now. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are part of the process. And, regardless of the size of the company, that's one of the downsides around artificial intelligence, scripting, and machine learning, is a lot of the bad actors and the defenders of the world, they're moving in tandem, right? So the same way we're automating defense, they're automating attacks. So if you're talking to a customer that's 50 user environment and they're saying they're not going to come after me, they're not going to target you, maybe specifically, but they're going to create scripts and automation to scan different environments that are exposed to the public internet, and they're going to look for vulnerabilities. And then they have these basically bots out there, it's machine learning and scripted and AI bots that look for vulnerabilities and then report back potential exploits. So there's no such thing as like too small to get breached. We had one come in the other day that was a five user small regional church that got hacked, and they were looking for help. So a lot of automation out there on both sides, both the good guys, and the bad guys. Helping your clients understand this. You don't want to do the fear, uncertainty, and doubt game, but just talking through a couple industry examples is always helpful. And then starting with an assessment or starting with a high level engagement around what we're seeing in the market is usually one of the best places to start. So, all right, so how does Quest engage here? How do we help our partners and our customers? Like I mentioned before, we've been in business about 42 years. We started our managed security practice in 1999, and that was one of our first clients was around monitoring and alerting their network components. And what we've built out is what we call the Cyber Defense Suite. And we are doing this for a couple reasons. We believe that security is a layered approach. There's no single silver bullet to addressing security. It's a constant, ongoing process where it's consistent engagement, it's monitoring, it's alerting, it's moving with all the different components of the IT world that are changing, patching, and updating at all times. New vulnerabilities come out every single day, so we believe in a layered approach and working with our clients. It's customized, but it's based on some core building blocks that we'll jump into here in a second. And you know, a good reason why I think we're a good partner to engage in these types of things is Quest helps organizations across the IT stack from the physical access layer all the way through the advanced application development services. So everything layer, transport, network, application layers, API integrations, we kind of see the client from a holistic standpoint, and we have a cybersecurity division that helps 24/7. So, you know, unfortunately, this is an area where we get involved in incident response and incident containment, about 4 to 6 new events per week from non-Quest clients. And the reason we built our cyber defense suite the way we did was because this is where we're seeing people get compromised. Real world incidents where we're seeing organizations vulnerable and seeing them get breached from these different building blocks. So initially, 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, we came together with a 4-part bundle, right? We were going to bundle 4 assets, and we were going to sell that to the community and we brought it to market as a 4-part bundle. Well, like everything, it's a great idea, good idea, didn't execute very well because what we found was organizations already had some of those building blocks, right? So every time you brought in a 4-part bundle to help address the top 4 areas of vulnerability that we were seeing in our incident response and containment practice, that would get broken apart. So learn from that, and we scrapped it, and we basically created a build your own bundle type of an approach, right? And it's built from these starting points. And these are the underlying technology for these different platforms depends on the customer. There are some that we really like. There are some that customers want us to manage for them. But basically, it starts with monitoring and alerting, right? You got DNS security and email security. You got endpoint EDR services, so monitoring and watching the endpoints, how the end user are interacting with the digital world, right? Password protection. Okay, we got security information and event management. You got a SIM, okay? And then we also have our vulnerability scans and ZTNA capabilities, along with multi-factor authentication. So these are some of the per user type of models where you can support and manage things. But there's other things in here that I want to bring up that aren't necessarily as kind of top of mind. One, this is probably right here in the center of your screen. Patch management is probably one of the best entry points for you as a trusted advisor, consultant, managed service provider, VAR, whatever your business model. Organizations are really, really struggling with this. There's 80% of our clients and our partners that were brought into to help with their end users. 8 out of 10 are not anywhere close to being up to date on their patches. And this is it's like a known secret in the industry, but there's a lot of people that are struggling with finding a good way to execute on this. So patch management, huge opportunity. And then immutable storage. The cheapest insurance you can buy right now in the cybersecurity world is having an immutable off-net copy of your backups. Like, this has to be it's a no-brainer. Whether you'd be shocked how many organizations don't want to pay a couple more bucks a month per terabyte to get an immutable copy of their storage. So when you're building the bundle, when you're helping your customers, like with, asking questions around good places to start, immutable storage, right? Get an off-net copy, get an immutable copy of your storage that is not part of your network and can be restored in the event you get breached and held for ransom. This is the best way to do it. It's very, very cheap. It's not an expensive solution. All this stuff up here, and people spend thousands upon thousands and millions of dollars on endpoint security and getting their environments ready for zero trust and all that kind of stuff. Love it. Fantastic opportunity for all of us, and can help them with that security. But from an immutable, from a cost standpoint, the cheapest insurance people can buy is immutable storage. We'll talk a little bit more about that in another boot camp here. We'll go kind of deep into some of those things. But these are the bundled offerings. And then another thing that's really, really important to know, right? These are all great. These are all build your own bundle. We help put them together. They're a cost per user model. We use, the best technology partners out there in the marketplace in order to power these. As a managed service provider, we also sell as a VAR all these services, so we can put it together however you want to consume it, however your customer wants to consume it. Incident response, okay? Incident response is something that every customer needs a plan around and needs help with, right? We have all sorts of different bundles. I'd love to say that people come in and do the readiness retainer or the IR retainer in the workshop and go through all these assessments, environmental prep, tabletop exercises, develop a final report, put all this together for them. Most of them don't, right? Most of them come in some kind of a panic state. This is a great topic to have with organizations. Hey, what's your incident response plan? Who do you call in the event of a disaster? How are they planning to help you? Is it documented? Do you know who to call? This is a 24/7 service that we have. Again, we average between 3 and 4 of these on a weekly basis from non-Quest customers, right? So we jump into the firefight all the time to help with containment and incident response. But if you don't have a go-to partner on this, if you don't have someone who's helping to proactively put this together, these services are fantastic. This is the proactive bundling effort that you can do. This is the proactive nature. You can go to your client and say, how are you protecting your passwords? Do you have a solution that automates and protects your passwords for your end users, right? When someone logs in from a different geography and is trying to go to a new environment that they never typically go into, they're trying to access HR files, or they're trying to access, administrative rights for your Microsoft tenant. Can you see that? Do you see that? Those types of questions. How do you see people accessing your environment? Those are all great, but when the proverbial stuff hits the fan, people need IR services. So great option there. Have that conversation. Just ask, hey, do you have an IR partner? Do you have someone who can help you with incident response? Device monitoring, is something that been doing it for 22 years. Our first client was a bank in Northern California, and people continue to struggle with monitoring and alerting on their devices, and getting real actionable intelligence and not noise, right? So device monitoring seems like table stakes for most managed service providers, but getting it right and getting it monitored 24/7 effectively, very, very important. DNS, as a service, helping organizations, helping protect your clients' people from going to places on the internet that maybe they shouldn't be, that will potentially download malicious code, malicious, ransomware type packets. DNS is a great offering to help them with that. Email security, still 70% of the breaches at least are coming through email, right? Specific phishing and targeting attacks. and we believe that you need to diversify, you know, some of your security bundles here, right? So you can use, there's definitely Microsoft assets, but there are other assets you can put in front of that environment as well. You know, we have a partnership with Proofpoint that is very, very effective, that we provide as a service. Been doing that for 10 plus years now, and can help with that product as well as others. We talked about immutable storage. That's, you know, you can't rewrite it, you can't delete it, they can't encrypt it, it's off net, it's immutable. They're the cheapest insurance any of your customers can buy in the cybersecurity world. You know, endpoint detection and response, EDR, again, got the AI capabilities, the machine learning, it's detecting anomalies on the endpoint, right? So how organizations can stay up to date with the most current threats, zero-day threats are not seen in previous signatures, and you sometimes have to have a way to detect anomalies. So endpoint protection and EDR, fantastic way to help with that. And then, you know, password protection, obviously helping understand who has access to what systems, and we can help ensure that, you know, if those passwords are breached or compromised or seen on the dark web, that's something that can be notified, and a forced change can happen. Lowest hanging fruit, again, patch management. You know, patch management, looks like we got a question up there. Smaller enterprise, all my desktop service per day. I'll get to that, Hans, for sure. Thanks for the question. So multi-factor authentication, helping organizations layer this in. These can all be bundled together, and help organizations from a access control, keeping their systems up to date, and then really authenticating who and what is interfacing with their environment. So, Paul, do we have any top of mind questions right there? I saw a couple questions come in there. Anything we want to kind of jump into?
Well, the one, excuse me, the one you just mentioned from Hans, what about a full suite of small mid markets? Did you want to talk about that one right now?
Yeah. So in small and mid market, typically what we see is we'll bundle together a couple of these assets, right? So I was working on with a partner just yesterday on bundling in. They have a patch management solution. They have multi-factor authentication. I think they're leveraging Duo. But what they were looking for help with was monitoring, as well as endpoint protection, right? So they were looking for a way to monitor the assets that they have, all of their network components and everything like that, and then layer in an EDR service to basically help defend against vulnerabilities and malware at their edge. They didn't need the whole suite, right? So they didn't need to be everything, but they felt, after discussing with our technical consultants and their team what kind of threats they were trying to mitigate against, we create a custom bundle for them. And one thing that was unique was they already have invested in the multi-factor authentication, and they were looking for help managing that MFA, right? So they had it, they purchased it, but they lost the person who was kind of their go-to person for scripting those things out, and we were able to come in and help them with a management option of what they've already invested in. So there are a lot more layers to security than just these, you know, these bullet points here. There's a 1,000 other aspects and things you could do. These are the most prominent that we see, and these are, you know, usually good areas to start the conversation, right? You know, there's microsegmentation and API security assessments, and you can get involved in. We're going to have application conversations with some much smarter people than me down the road on the next boot camps around application development and security DevOps and those types of things. But this is a great starting point. We're like, hey, where do you start that conversation? You know, use the cyber defense suite as a building block approach to it. We chat about this a little bit, but cybersecurity touches every aspect of the IT environment. So it touches the end users, It touches access to help desk and how people are authenticating. It touches, the key applications with an organization. It touches just proximity. Where are people logging in? How are people logging in? What local wireless environment are they using to gain access to your Salesforce or to your Workday applications or your Microsoft Dynamics or your Microsoft tenant, right? So it's not, there's so many different layers of how people access data. That means every single access point needs to be secured or at least validated or in some way watched, right? Because the game has changed with people working remotely, and how you're going to manage your people is constantly changing as well. So it's a cornerstone to every IT conversation. When you're helping organizations, if you're in the telecommunications world, if you're in the application software as a service sales world, or you sell hardware and software for a living, this is going to impact everything you do because all those decisions are based on cybersecurity frameworks. It's part of the strategy. So it's a huge opportunity to expand services, right? So landing with an organization and then expanding how you can help them. Probably the largest opportunity we see in cybersecurity, and the total addressable market is significantly growing. So, a couple takeaways that I want to share with the group as far as, we've kind of gone through how to qualify and some starting building blocks here. And again, if you have any questions on this, please shoot them over and we'll get to them here in a moment. But it's essential. It's part of everything that we do, right? It's part of every IT strategy conversation out there. Everyone, it's across all aspects of technology, leadership, operations, end users. Everyone needs to understand that cybersecurity is an essential part of building out any IT strategy, helping to train the end users, helping to get people on the same page as far as policies. It's getting more and more demanding, and it's costing more money for organizations from a management standpoint. So it's an essential conversation as part of every strategy. I know a lot of you on the phone today are part of your customer strategy sessions. How are they making decisions? What's important to them? Cybersecurity is at the top of the list. And I hope what you've got from today's messaging is you definitely don't have to be an expert in order to position or have a conversation around cybersecurity. It's basic frameworks as far as, hey, do you need help managing what you have today? Would you like to look at areas that could be improved with new technology or service provider or technology delivered by a service provider? Or do you need help from a project standpoint, just understanding where you are today in the cybersecurity world, right? What do you have in place? What are some potential areas of improvement? Would you like to bring in some expertise to do that? And, again, you don't have to be an expert to have that conversation. Quest is a partner. We're here to help move that conversation forward if you would like to engage us or have that conversation at all. We've been doing this as a security provider, 24 plus years. 1999 was when we first got involved in this as a service. Our professional services organization has been doing this since the 90s, helping organizations manage their risk, manage their compliance, and doing that from a 24/7 standpoint is a key building block of what Quest does. So we're here to help. We want to help grow this revenue base for you. We want to help grow this as a new offering, or maybe there's a specific feature of the management, the consulting, or the framework discussions you want to have. So please let us know anything that you would like some help with there. We're going to be sharing this. We're going to be sharing this presentation and everything that we have from a content standpoint and some of the background as far as how we're coming up with this data. But and I hate total addressable market pitches, but total addressable market, just for the idea of how fast it's growing, it was about 30 billion in 2023. It's basically almost doubling by 2025, right? So organizations are actively seeking help in this industry. It's very, very high demand, all right? As you get involved with your businesses and as your partners, this is tied into everything that they do. So it helps with retention. It helps with cross-selling into other services. And it helps protect your clients, right? You become a trusted person who can help them solve problems, right? Where, sales is sometimes seen as a dirty word. Not trying to sell anybody anything, mainly just trying to make sure that people understand there are layers to cybersecurity, and maybe your customer doesn't need help with every single one of those, but there's one or two areas where if you have the conversation, you ask how they're doing with that, there can be an opportunity to get involved in their business and ultimately help protect them from bad actors and from serious impacts to their business. And we have about 5 more of these sessions. We're going to go into some specific offerings and some specific capability conversations, but actually being able to help with the operations of a cybersecurity practice can differentiate you, right? Anyone can go out there and sell endpoint protection as like a licensing SKU, all right? I can name 20 distributors that if you Google, you can go set up a reseller capability to go sell that stuff. It's table stakes now. Having access to vendors and OEMs and manufacturers is not a distinction or a special feature anymore, right? It's the market is very, very flat when it comes to selling the technology. Being able to implement it, being able to manage it, and being able to integrate it can set you up as a differentiated partner that helps your clients actually get out of the technology they're investing in the best output. That's a differentiator for you in selling cybersecurity services and working with a partner like Quest, because there's thousands upon thousands of solutions out there, and they're all great capabilities. But at the end of the day, implementing those capabilities and delivering on the promises that the pretty slide decks put out there, it's not a one step A, step B process. Every client's different, and you can really differentiate yourself by having that business outcome conversation and understanding what they want to get out of that investment. And that typically leads to significant revenue growth for you in your account when you're working with Quest. So, you build those long-term trusted relationships and those types of things, and you can help out with a lot there. So, I want to thank everyone for joining. Again, if you want to talk to the Quest partner team and go into a deep dive on any of this, please do. Our portal, this and my bad jokes will live on forever in the partner portal as a recording. And again, if you got anything out of this, even if it was just like a little snippet, like a little 5-minute snippet or anything like that, please share it with a colleague. We really, really are trying to get this message out there, and appreciate your partnership there doing that. We'll be following up with you to check in and see if you would like any type of additional conversation. So, if you're all set, all good, but if you want to dive into anything deeper, we certainly can. And then again, this is one of a 6-part series. So if you want to scan or you want to check out this link here, it'll also be in our follow-up as far as registering for some of the other series as well. Please go ahead and do that. But Paul, I know we got a couple minutes left here. Any questions from the audience?
Couple minutes.
Yeah.
First, great presentation. We do have a couple questions. Also, if you do register, when you register for the next session, you can include questions in that registration. So these are questions that we got from registrants from this session. So I don't think you talked about this. If my clients have already standardized a specific manufacturer or vendor, can they still work with you?
Yeah, no, great question. And yeah, so the building blocks we talked about, we have offerings that can deliver on those. But what's unique about Quest, I believe, in the market is we can support, manage, maintain, patch, and support existing investments. So as an example, if an organization has already purchased a certain brand of firewalls, right? So I don't know, say Cisco, Fortinet, Palo Alto Networks. one of the key aspects and kind of a unique identifier for Quest is we have a weights and measures division that all day long they're coding and updating and managing new alerts from all the different major manufacturers and ingesting that into our monitor of monitors. So our tool, our security operations center, our team can ingest, log, and manage all sorts of different technology stacks out there. So not saying every single one under the sun we got a baked out version of, but more often than not, all the major manufacturers that your clients are probably already investing in, right? Everyone's, for the most part, everyone's got a firewall. Everyone's got some type of antivirus. Everyone, for the most part, has some attempt at patching going on, and those types of things. We can come in and help operate those systems with your customers as part of a managed service monthly recurring offering. And just to highlight that again, the assessments and kind of helping the clients understand where they are, we're always looking at those current investments. What do they already have in place today? A lot of your customers have some fantastic assets already deployed. They might not just be getting the most out of them, right? So great opportunity to do a checkup and kind of check out those platforms and take a look at those services. So
Perfect. One more question. I'm used to selling data center and network services. Do I talk to the same people in cybersecurity? Who are the best people to talk to in a specific environment?
great question. Oftentimes, if you're okay, so if you're in the network conversation, or if you're in the data center conversation, like you help the facilities team or the data center operators or guys like that, those are often folks in the same room, with the chief information security officer or the CIO. IT directors are fantastic. They're looking for help with these types of things. They're looking for help managing what they have in place. If you can get meetings with the CIO or with the CISO, understanding what they have on their plate and what they're managing versus what they maybe want to out-task. We chatted about a little bit earlier. One of the easiest things to take off people's plate from a operations standpoint is typically patching. No one likes to be in charge of or manage patching for clients. So if you're talking to an organization about their data center operations or their network, they're going through a new refresh or seeing the latest and greatest firewalls out there, try to pivot to something they don't want to do. And what opportunity kind of lies where maybe responsibility is not taken. Go after that low-hanging fruit with patch management would be what I say with those folks you're talking to. They're usually the same folks.
Perfect. Great. And if you are here, you could win a $200 gift card. So for that, Darcy's here to randomly select a winner out of all the attendees present.
Thanks, Paul.
Mhm.
Today's winner is Gary Welch. So congratulations, Gary. And we will reach out to you directly after the webinar.
Cool. Congratulations, Gary.
Right on. Good stuff.
Real quick, if you want to, we'd love to have you for the next session. You can register on our website, and that is going to be October 23rd. That'll be the next selling, and the topic will be selling cybersecurity assessments, your door to identifying expanded opportunities. So again, October 23rd, you can register. The QR code's right there as well. We'd love to see you. And again, you can always submit questions when you register as well. Adam, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks again, everyone. Appreciate it very much, and hope to see you on the next one. Have a great day, everybody.
Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.